Speaking of too much is a good thing,
What?
why don't we talk about some of the challenges we've had on the walk so far that we've
Okay.
encountered?
Yeah, well, yeah, let's do it. One of the challenges, which I think was actually kind of a good thing, so I'll just ease us into it.
Okay,
There was very little pain
that's true.
in the first week,
Yeah.
which I wasn't expecting.
hmm
Were you expecting that?
I don't know. I think the Washington trip went so well last time that it was not outside the realm of possibility.
Mm,
But yeah, I mean, it
yeah.
was. Yeah, go on. Talk about your pain.
No, that's a good point. But I guess I just have the memories of the first trips that we've done where the first couple days, like I remember very distinctly asking you if my thighs were going to blow up or if that was a thing that could possibly happen. So there was nothing like that at all that I felt. I got 2 blisters, both on my big toes, which was annoying but fine. We have the blister pads that I could use to protect them for the other days. And my feet got tired and a little sore. And I think my calves got kind of tired and sore at the end of the days. But other than that, it was fine. It
Yeah.
wasn't, because in the past, the tired and the sore that's just tired and sore, not the real kind of intense pain where you're maybe limping a little bit or you sit down and stand up and you're like hobbling around, which is what has happened in the past to my body. But for whatever reason, seemed pretty ready to go.
Yeah,
Yeah, and let's hear about your pains.
sure. Well, before we get to that, on the Washington trip, you did have some blister issues, so
Oh, I did.
that
You're
would
right. Yeah.
that would be fresh in your mind.
Yeah.
For mine, I didn't have any blisters, which is great, and I kind of expected that. I don't, always want to be abundantly cautious when talking about pain, because any day a blister could form or anything just
Yeah.
based on how wet your feet are or just the state of your shoes or anything really. So those could very well come at some point. But I did not get any blisters. I did have one of my toenails was cutting into a toe. So I was bleeding at the end of the day, but I didn't even really realize it was a meaningful pain until then. And really the one thing that was concerning to me is my right Achilles. That basically at the bottom towards where the ankle is, it is in pain, not an amount of pain that is something that really holds me back, but more something that has been an anxiety relative to the fact that we're going to be doing this for such an extended period of time, provided everything goes well, that it was and may still be in the future get in my head a little bit. Because at the end of the day, on a couple of days, it basically sounded like a dried out rubber band.
Yeah, it didn't sound great.
That you were pulling. If you pulled, it was like. So it hasn't done that since we've had this time off right now. So I'm hopeful that will be a thing that doesn't stick around. It also looks like maybe I bruised it, like the first or second day. Because really all it takes is one bad step on a curb or something and you twist your ankle a little bit. And so I think that's maybe what happened. So hopefully just several days of healing it and not doing anything will allow it to resolve itself.
Yeah.
But...
Ice Elevate.
Yeah.
There's an acronym that I tried to tell you about the other day that I still haven't looked up. I don't remember what it is.
But... yeah, there hasn't been anything like the pain that we've experienced on the previous walks, but there are definitely things that I would consider challenges as far as management of mental state. I have not had the same appetite, which is kind of familiar from the other walks, but something that, if we're going to be doing this for a long time, concerns me. There were a couple of times, like when we stopped at Industry City, I would get things that were a little more substantive than I really felt the need for, and then would just kind of force down as much as I could. So we're looking into solutions that are more just purely energy-based, like drinks that we can make in the morning and energy bars and things like that. On Thursday, I had very little to eat except for those types of things, and that was the day that I felt the best. So we'll see if we can transition to something that's closer to that.
Yeah, it'll be easy to carry too, because this first week we were trying to make all the food our goal was to make enough food for 3 weeks of walking.
Yeah.
And we were able to make dinners for 3 weeks. And we have stuff for breakfast and lunch, but because we didn't really do a great job of getting it packaged and ready to go, we weren't really prepared with carrying all of our lunches. So we did just go and get lunch in Industry City each day, which was fine for the first week, but ultimately long term, that's not going to work either for the budget or for efficiency of the walk or for, knowing where food is, or because I have celiac disease and Industry City is easy to get gluten-free food, but I don't know where we're going to be every day moving forward. So lots of different reasons. I had a hard time eating the first 2 days, but then by the end, by Thursday, I ate all of my lunch and half of your lunch. I had no problem eating. So I'm not as concerned about it from that perspective, but more just I want to make sure I'm not hungry all day and make sure that I'm giving myself the calories that I need. My blood sugar tends to drop real quick, and when that happens, I just need something. So yeah, having things that we can carry and easily eat, and also not have to stop just to eat, I think might be nice. Resting when we want to rest and then eating when we want to eat. So
yeah,
if we're just stopping to eat a bar, then that can happen at any time when we're resting. That can even happen while we're walking. And then the rest can be more focused on stretching and things like that.
Yeah. So that's an issue that we'll be watching. Also, it generally felt sick a couple of days, and I'm not sure if that's dehydration or sun fatigue or what have you. The first 3 days, weather-wise, were cloudless the entire time. And I also wore a hat, so those were definitely the sweatiest days. The 4th and 5th day, there were clouds more sporadically, and so that was useful. But I did get sunburn on the top of my head when I wasn't wearing a hat. So we're going to have to figure out how that works.
Does anyone know if there's any scalp sunscreen that we can get?
Yeah. I did get a haircut yesterday for the first time since the quarantine. So that hopefully could help as far as heat under the hat if I need to wear a hat. But we'll see how that works. And we're just going to try and drink more water. Next week's going to be a little different. We're going to go a little more far afield, covering some beach areas.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a big gauntlet towards the end where we're walking on a road that I think is going to be more like what we've done on our vacations, which is just car roads. So water management's going to be interesting there.
Yeah, this week, the first day, I wore my Camelback backpack and I filled up the water in there, not quite to the top, but almost to the top, because I wasn't sure where there would be water refill stations, between just not knowing in general where it's going to be, but also with COVID, I'm not sure how many water fountains are on and how many are off. And it actually turned out on this last week, there were a lot of water fill stations. There was in Industry City, we could use water fountain. In Brooklyn Bridge Park, there's one on either end. There's actually like a water bottle fill. I don't know that we had to use it anywhere else. Maybe in McGolrick, there might have been
There were a couple of
fountain
parks.
that I used. Yeah. Some of them, they were off, though. So that's what I can think of. But yeah, we ended up, so the first day I did bring the camelback, but then the other days we were able to get away with just the little, we have these platypuses that are like, are they 16 ounces? No, 32 ounces?
They're a liter, yeah.
Yeah. So that gets us through a quarter, a third of the day or so, and then they get refilled a number of times.
Yeah. So I was trying to force myself to drink even if I didn't feel like I had to drink. And hopefully that will keep some of this sickness feeling we've been having at bay.
Yeah.
Not enough to, debilitate. A lot of this stuff is more just the fact that we're so early on, things that we're feeling take on a sense of a lot more enormity because there's so much to do. So once things are identified as either going away or at a level where we can understand and know what to expect from them, that's when we'll start settling into routines.
Yeah. Yeah. Once we, like this first week there, while we were out there, we realized there's a handful of things that we need to get that we don't have yet. And there's a handful of things that we need to do differently. And there's a handful of things that, to restructure our schedule and whatnot. So just readjusting on those things. And yeah, hopefully once we do those, then it'll be less and less that we haven't thought of. I mean, I expect as the seasons change, as we get further into this, there's still going to be stuff that we have to adjust for. And we should probably be ready for that. But I think probably the beginning is always the trickiest because it's reconfiguring everything.
Mm-hmm, for sure. And the fact that we started in the summer, not by choice,
right,
is also probably, this is either going to be the first or second hardest season, most likely. We don't know for certain, obviously. But yeah, just the having to deal with ramping up your bodies in the heat season.
Yeah, it's hot.
Yeah.
It was the first week, really, too, of it being hot.
Yeah.
Even last week, I guess it was officially the first day of summer is when we started. Well, no, that's not true. We started the day after the official first day of summer, but it was the 21st, which we always think is the first day of summer, so.
Yes, we attribute the 21st personally as the first day of summer. However, it fluctuates based on the calendar year. It could be anywhere from the 20th to the 22nd. So
yeah.
We chose to do the 21st because that felt good for us as a starting day.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see. I think, we'll just adjust as the weather changes and see how it affects our bodies.
Yeah. And then coming home is also a thing that we're going to have to get used to as far as what we have the ability to do. I think the fact that there is a clock that kind of starts as soon as we get in the door is something that gives me a little bit of anxiety and going to have to get used to, because really, I mean, we could go to bed at midnight and then wake up at 10 and start, but then that means that it just throws the rest of the week off. So
yeah,
there really, once you get in, getting home at 7 versus getting home at 8:30 is a very different story. We're trying to get to bed at around 10 so that we can get 8 hours, somewhere between 7 and 8 hours of sleep before we do the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And there are all sorts of tasks that are associated with that, aside from just the basics of getting ready for the next day. But anything that comes in email-wise or just other things of life that you have to keep up with will be competing for our attention each of those days. And yeah, just getting into perspective, all of those things, and yeah, coming to terms with some things taking longer than others to get done.
Yeah, we're just getting into a groove. It's not, the thing we're doing each day isn't the same as going to the office, where if you okay, tonight I accidentally didn't get to sleep till 1 or 2 in the morning and I have to be up at 8, no big deal. For what we're doing, if we don't get to bed until 1 or 2 in the morning, we're not going to have a good day the next day.
Yeah.
And because what we're doing is all physical and we want to make sure to keep ourselves healthy throughout this, especially in the beginning when we're just getting started, we don't want to be trying to walk 26 miles on 4 hours of sleep. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
But we'll figure out a routine.
Yeah.
It has been helpful. I'm glad we did try to make all the meals ahead of time. That was major. I don't think coming home after a full day out and trying to cook something would work very well.
Yeah.
So,
Although, ironically, I don't think we've eaten any of the meals that you prepared the Saturday before.
we did. We had the soup, we had the chili, and we had
The chili was already cooked.
the other thing.
The chili and the coconut tofu.
Oh, that's true.
Jesse's made some
I
fantastic
made the
things
soup,
so far.
though.
But I'm excited to, the soup was good. I'm excited to see the things that she has
Yeah,
made
well,
for
most of
us.
it ended up going into the freezer since we actually had leftover stuff from the whole week before, because I've been cooking a lot during this
Yeah.
time. But
And when we move forward, we have a plan where we both do a cooking day
yeah,
the Sunday before, which we've implemented once, but have yet to do, the live version of. But last week before we started, was kind of a frenzy of trying to get things done. And there's still things that need to be done that haven't been done from that frenzy weekend. So,
yeah. Well, we'll also see, because we had this idea that we would do that together, but you've really taken on the video editing and that kind of thing. So if every 3 weeks that means that I'm cooking and you're editing, that works too.
yeah, we'll see how it
Yeah.
all plays out.
Yeah.
And I think the hardest thing for me so far is the morning. I don't know if you feel the same way or not, but just waking up and getting ready to go.
Mm.
The idea that we have, I want to get out the door so that I can get back sooner, and just there's a lot of expectations that you have to play with yourself in order to get going. Once we're out in the world, that's kind of the easiest part for me, because you're just on a track, and you just keep moving forward. But the morning time so far has been difficult, because it's like, getting started on a right foot or not.
Yeah. Well, I think the thing I've been struggling a little bit with in the morning is, well, I don't like waking up early.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we've been waking up early, and I think we'll get used to it. But at 6 in the morning, I'm not really ready to eat breakfast yet. I forget that coffee's even an option. Once I remember, then I'm fine, honestly. But it's sort of like, to get in the shower. Like, everything feels like hard. And then I want to be good about stretching and doing things, drink a lot of water, eat breakfast, stretch. Those are really the things I want to do in the morning before we go. But then if I sit down to stretch, I also want to get out, especially now that it's hot. I want to get out and get going. So it's this balance and push and pull between wanting to do all the stuff that I really should do in the morning to prep my body for the day, and then just knowing that we have such a long day ahead of us and wanting to jump into it.
Yeah.
But not wanting to rush that stuff that is important in order to be able to jump into it. So, yeah, I think, again, it's we'll reset our rhythms. Up until now, I've always liked to stretch in the morning, but if I skip it, it's not a big deal. And the things that I have to do during the day when I'm going to my studio or something have nothing to do really with my physical body. It's more about getting stuff made and getting stuff out and stuff like that. And if I'm a little bit sore, it's not a big deal. Whereas if I'm a little bit sore during the day with a walking, then that is a big deal.
Yeah. One of the nice things that the pandemic afforded me was the ability to get into doing a bunch of yoga. And so I was doing it 5 times a week, all restorative stuff, because I needed it based on the amount of time that I was using the computer, because the computer really messes up my upper back shoulder area. But now I have it so that I've been doing these 15-minute yoga sessions before we start the walks, and that's been working well. And also now that we're having these, when we have the days off, I'm already used to the idea of doing the 1-hour sessions. So I did one yesterday. I'll do one today or tomorrow, I'm not sure. And basically, I think that probably was one of the reasons why we weren't experiencing as much pain.
That's a good point. Yeah, we were doing a good job with that.
Yeah.
The muscles were stretched.
Yeah.